I'm Chloe, 35 years old, and being organized is just part of who I am. I've always been the kind of person who notices small details and likes things in order. My job as an auditor for a big company suits me perfectly. It's all about spotting mistakes and making sure things add up. Outside of work, my friends sometimes tease me about my obsession with organization, especially with money matters. I save every receipt, pay bills and taxes on time, and keep neat folders for everything. They laugh, but I honestly believe these habits are what keep my life calm and manageable. Now, let me tell you how I met my husband, Theodore. It was at a gathering hosted by our mutual friend, Victoria. I was sitting with a couple of old college friends, sipping wine and catching up, when Theodore walked in. He was a little older than me, confident, and had this easy charm about him. He was wearing a light button-down shirt, holding a beer, and smiling like he knew exactly how to make people feel at ease. He came over and said, "Hey, I'm Theodore, mind if I join you?" I smiled back, "Sure, I'm Chloe, nice to meet you." We started talking, and to my surprise, the conversation flowed naturally. We discovered we both loved hiking and classic rock music. He worked as a manager at a food sales company, and I found myself liking his relaxed but self-assured manner. A few months later, Theodore invited me to a barbecue at his sister Audrey's house. It was the first time I met his family. Audrey was warm and welcoming, but her kids were loud, restless, and everywhere, running through the house, screaming, tossing toys around. I tried to be polite, but inside, I felt overwhelmed. Theodore, on the other hand, just chuckled and seemed to enjoy their energy. As our relationship grew, Theodore proposed during one of our hikes. We had stopped at the top of a hill with a stunning view of the valley below. He pulled out a ring, nothing over the top but thoughtful, and asked me to marry him. I said yes without hesitation. Our wedding was beautiful, but Audrey's kids were just as wild as ever, spilling drinks, running between tables, and generally creating chaos. Theodore brushed it off as kids being kids, but I already knew this was going to be something I'd struggle with. After the wedding, we decided to buy a home instead of continuing to rent. One night, while sitting in our apartment, we talked about our plans. I suggested, "I can handle buying the furniture, appliances, and some nice art for the walls. What about you?" He grinned, "How about I buy you a new car? I know your old one has been giving you trouble." I was overjoyed. My car was practically falling apart, and the thought of a brand new one felt like a dream. We started house hunting and, after weeks of searching, found a charming house that was a little more expensive than planned, but we decided it was worth it. Moving was hectic, but I loved choosing elegant furniture and modern appliances to make it feel like home. A few weeks after settling in, Theodore surprised me with a shiny new sedan parked in the driveway. I hugged him, thanking him over and over. Life in our new home began well. We both enjoyed our work and spent evenings relaxing together. But slowly, I started noticing that Theodore's relaxed attitude, which had once been attractive, was becoming frustrating. He often avoided chores, saying things like, "Can't it wait until tomorrow?" After I asked him to help with dishes or laundry. I liked keeping the house clean and organized, so this often annoyed me. A few months into our marriage, I began worrying about not getting pregnant. The doctors told me to be patient, but it was hard. Adding to my stress, Audrey began visiting often, usually bringing her kids and unloading all her marital problems on me. "Chloe, you won't believe what David did this time," she'd begin, and once she started, it was nearly impossible to change the subject. Meanwhile, her kids turned the house into a playground, running, yelling, and fighting over toys. I tried to stay calm, but one day, after I asked them to quiet down, Audrey snapped, "Why are you always so uptight, Chloe?" The worst moment came when she said, "Maybe if you had your own kids, you'd understand." She knew I was struggling with fertility, so it felt like a direct, cruel jab. I looked at Theodore, "Are you going to let her speak to me like this?" But he just said, "Calm down, Chloe, you're making a big deal out of nothing." Another time, Audrey showed up unannounced, left her kids with me, and went shopping. While I was making dinner, I heard a crash in the living room. I ran in to find my grandfather's antique Chinese vase shattered on the floor. "What happened?" I demanded. One of the kids mumbled, "We were just playing." I was furious. This vase was priceless. It belonged to my grandfather. Theodore came in and, seeing the mess, simply said, "It's just a vase, we can fix it." Audrey returned and, instead of apologizing, said, "Maybe you should have been watching them more closely." That was the moment I realized how little respect I was getting in my own home. But the final straw came one morning when Theodore casually said over breakfast, "Audrey's getting divorced. She and the kids will stay here for a few months." I almost dropped my coffee. "Are you serious? It's chaos when they're here for just one day. How are we supposed to live like this for months?" "She's my sister. She needs help," he said, as if that settled everything. I suggested, "Why not rent a place for her nearby? I'll pay for the first month's rent." "No," he replied, "she'll be more comfortable here, and you can help with the kids and keep the place tidy." I stared at him in disbelief. "I'm not a babysitter, Theodore. I work too, and I need peace at home." At that moment, I knew something had to change. I stared at Theodore, hardly believing what I'd just heard. "I'm not being selfish, Theodore," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm asking for something fair. I'm not going to let my life get turned upside down like this." His eyes narrowed, his tone sharper than before. "Stop being so selfish, Chloe. It's family, they need us. You should be supporting me, not fighting me." "I am supporting you," I shot back, my voice rising, "but supporting you doesn't mean I have to sacrifice my peace, my space, and my sanity. There are other solutions. Renting a place for her would help everyone." But Theodore just stood, clearly done with the conversation. "They're coming tomorrow evening. End of discussion. You'd better get used to the idea." With that, he walked out of the kitchen, leaving me rooted to the spot, my heart pounding. I felt blindsided, like someone had pulled the rug from under me. This wasn't just a disagreement, this was betrayal. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the argument over and over. My stomach churned with anger and disbelief. How had I gone from building a loving home with my husband to fighting over him forcing his sister and her wild children into our space without even asking me? The next morning, still stewing, I got dressed for work and went to grab my car keys from the hook by the door, but they weren't there. I searched the kitchen counter, my handbag, the coffee table, nowhere. I called Theodore. "Where are my keys?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. His voice was calm, too calm. "I took the car. It's mine, remember? I'm giving it to Audrey so she can use it for the kids." For a moment, I couldn't even process his words. "You're giving my car to Audrey? Are you serious right now?" "It's not your car, Chloe. I paid for it. She needs it more than you do," he said, as if the matter was settled. I stood in the hallway, phone pressed to my ear, feeling my pulse race. That was it, the breaking point. "Theodore, you've taken everything from me, and I'm done," I said, my voice trembling with a mix of fury and clarity. "What are you talking about? Don't be dramatic, Chloe," he replied, dismissive as ever. But I'd had enough. Right then, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I hung up without another word and called a moving company. "Hi," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I need a team to move furniture and appliances today. It's urgent." By the time the movers arrived, my plan was solid in my head. I walked them through the house, pointing to every item I had bought with my own money. "Take the beds, the sofas, the chandeliers, even the faucets in the bathroom," I instructed. Piece by piece, the life I had built in that house was dismantled, and with each item carried out, the knot in my chest loosened just a little. I realized that I wasn't just moving furniture, I was taking back control. We loaded everything into the moving truck and drove straight to my mom's house. By the time we finished unloading, I was exhausted but lighter than I'd felt in months. I tipped the movers generously, thanking them for working so quickly. I ignored my buzzing phone all afternoon. Theodore's name flashed on the screen over and over, but I let it go to voicemail. I didn't want to hear excuses or guilt trips. That evening, a loud knock rattled my mom's front door. I opened it to find Theodore standing there, his jaw tight and his eyes full of rage. "What the hell, Chloe, what did you do?" he demanded, storming inside. "I took my belongings," I said calmly. "You took the car, so I took what I bought." "You stripped the house bare. Where are Audrey and the kids supposed to sleep now?" he shouted, his voice echoing off the walls. I crossed my arms. "That's your problem, Theodore. You created this mess, now you can figure it out." "You're a thief," he barked. "You stole everything." I walked to the coffee table, picked up a folder, and handed it to him. "I didn't steal anything. Here are the receipts for every single item I removed. Go ahead, check them." He flipped through the papers, his breathing heavy. The anger on his face began to fade, replaced by frustration. Fine, Chloe, if this is how you want to play it, I'll file for divorce. I reached into my bag and pulled out another folder. Already done, I said, handing it to him. Here are the divorce papers, sign them, and we're finished. His eyes widened slightly, the color draining from his face. You're serious? Dead serious, Theodore. I deserve better than this. Without a word, he pulled a pen from his pocket, scribbled his signature, and shoved the papers back into my hands. Fine, have it your way. He turned and left, slamming the door behind him. For a moment, I just stood there, holding the signed papers. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from relief. It was over. That night, I sat with my mom and told her everything. She listened quietly, then wrapped her arms around me. Chloe, you've been through enough. It's time you focused on yourself and your happiness, she said softly. Over the next few days, I started unpacking my things at her place, organizing my new room, and thinking about my future. For the first time in a long time, I felt in control. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I knew one thing for sure, I wasn't going back.